going on, Detroit Lions fans? Welcome back. Detroit Den 313 with Steve. As you can see, no Will today. What's going on with Will is he's at work. All right. He's at work, not in a good place mentally. All right. I know what he's going through. He's battling those long hours. He doesn't want to be there. Forced overtime, my man. Hang in there. We will be back later tonight, hopefully with a joint show. Don't even know what we're talking. I think we're going to be talking that little teaser we gave yesterday. I might have to remind Will of that one, and that's going to be a good one. Trust me, it's going to be a heavily debated show. But today, flying solo for a little bit. Got to hop on here. Ask you guys one thing to do me a favor, real fast. Hammer that subscribe button. We are so close to 12,000. Help us hit that before the season starts in 23 days. I know a lot of people are counting down until week 1. I count down to week 1 of preseason. That's football. It might not mean shit when it comes to wins and losses on the records, but it's still something that's better than what we have right now in the NFL, which is nothing. So we're getting there. Training camp starts in, I think, 8 days. I think the rookies report on the 16th, vets report on the 19th, and we're going to be underway. First preseason game on the 31st. So we're there, guys. This is the final push of the summer before we get into training camp. I'm doing what I love to do, looking at this depth chart, looking at some pieces, trying to find some things that not a lot of people are talking about. I think I found an absolute monster that the Detroit Lions are sitting on. When I say monster, I'm just talking about a kid who's 6'7", 305 pounds, All-American and first team All Missouri Valley Conference selection at right tackle, 1,000 snaps, 2 sacks allowed, 17 pressures, 42 games starter at reps at tackle and guard. Again, 6'7", 305. To my knowledge, that is the second biggest player on the team. I think Dan Skipper is still holding down. He's like 6'9", 330 or something like that, I believe. You guys are probably wondering, Steve, who the hell are you talking about? Who's a 6'7", 305-pound monster that nobody's heard of? Mason Miller out of North Dakota State, an undrafted free agent. I just gave you all his accolades. I gave you his stats, gave you his height, gave you his weight. What's the problem with this kid? Why wasn't he drafted? I know that's going to be a question. How's he going to fit on the Detroit Lions? I'm going to try to get into all that. Listen, me and Will talk about it all the time. It's going to be hard to make this team. It's going to be very, very hard for an undrafted free agent to make this team. All right. We talk about some potential kids that we've drafted being possible cut candidates, because that's what happens when you have a Super Bowl caliber roster. It means your roster is full. It means when you're adding to that roster in free agency and the draft, it becomes harder and harder by the day to make this team. So, Mason Miller, I'll be cheering for you. I'm going to be watching very closely. But let me say this. In my opinion, and this might just be me on an island by myself, when I look at this Detroit Lions team, I think that there's only a couple of spots where someone like a Mason Miller can come in and compete, and it's on the offensive line. All right. We're already starting 2 starters on our offensive line this season with the retirement of Frank Ragnow, Graham Glasgow sliding to center. I know Mahogany is not technically a rookie, but he hasn't played a full season, so he's still on rookie experience, kind of. I think he's only played like 2 or 3 games. And then Tate Ratledge, second-round pick this past season, playing right guard. Behind them, I feel like that's where there's jobs to be had. All right, when I just look at the Detroit Lions depth chart, Mason Miller, like I said, a lot of reps at tackle. So obviously, you guys know who our starting right tackle is. I hope Penei Sewell, the best tackle in the game, best offensive lineman in the game. Behind him, the second string is Colby Swordsdahl. All right. Now can Colby and Mason battle in training camp and see who's going to lock up that second spot behind right tackle, behind Penei Sewell? I think that's something that Mason Miller, I'm trying to be generous here, but when I hear the names Colby Swordsdahl and Mason Miller, I think that job's up for grabs. That's just how I feel. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys have a different opinion. But when I hear those 2 names, I think those are 2 guys that I don't know who I'm guaranteed to give that backup job to. And with Mason Miller having some experience at guard, I started looking at, hey, who's some of our backup guards? So for Christian Mahogany, who's his backup listed on ESPN? Netane Muti. All right. A name that I really haven't dived into yet. I might have to look into that a little bit more. Who's Tate Ratledge's backup? Tristan Colon, Keoti Awosika. Like, I think when I lump Mason Miller's name with all those other guys, there's a job to be won there, in my opinion. I think he has a good chance just because he's not cracking the starting lineup. Let's not get things twisted there. But when you're going into training camp preseason, you're just fighting to make the roster for most guys, unless you're like the Jared Goffs or the guys who are just slam dunks to make the team. This is why I love preseason. I want to see who's going to fight to make this Detroit Lions team better in week 7, week 8, week 9. Like, this is where you build your depth. It's on this roster and on this depth chart. So when I hear those names, Swordsdal, Tristan Colon, Michael Neese, the backup center, Netani Muti, the backup left guard, I start thinking like Mason Miller might have the best chance of an undrafted free agent to make this team. And I get it. I get the concern of, North Dakota State. They don't play the high competition like the SEC or the Big Ten or anything like that in college. But North Dakota State is an FCS powerhouse. Let's not get that confused. They have a powerful offense every single year. But this is the big leagues. All right. I started watching the season 2 of Quarterback with Jared Goff, and I think it was, Kirk Cousins is on the show too. And I think he said something that I've been saying for a while is, other guys in this NFL, they're out to get paid too. So you're coming into an environment where you're playing for the Detroit Lions, and across from you is a guy whose livelihood is probably depending on how he performs. So Mason Miller will have his hands full with that mindset of, if you're going up in competition, first of all, and now you're adding that bonus factor of these are guys who are trying to do this for the next 10 to 15 years. They don't have to worry about college classes or tests or quizzes. Their only purpose is to focus solely on football and taking care of their body. So Mason Miller is someone I'm going to have my eyes on. There's no chance he's cracking the starting roster. I don't want anyone to get confused with what I'm saying here, but I think he's got a damn good chance to come in and be a backup somewhere. If, we're looking at week 9, 10, and someone gets banged up, maybe Ratledge or someone gets hurt and we have to shuffle some pieces around, I wouldn't be surprised if Mason Miller makes this team and finds himself potentially starting a game or two because of an injury. And I'm not cheering for an injury. Trust me, after last year, we need a break from some injuries. I don't want to see anyone get hurt, regardless of the team. I don't like injuries to impact games either. But I just wouldn't be surprised if he's a name that I hear coming into the game, or, Thursday he gets announced as a potential starter because of an injury. That wouldn't shock me. All right. I need you guys to do me a little homework assignment and go to YouTube and look at some of his highlights, because this dude is a people mover. I don't fully dive into and take it for everything that it's worth when I look at some PFF rankings, but at North Dakota State, I feel like he was kind of ranked properly. He had like a 78 run grade and like a 74 pass grade. So it's not eye-popping numbers, especially at that level of competition. I would probably prefer it to be a little bit higher, but I can't ignore his accolades, his size, and his versatility. I think that that's another big thing, is being able to play primarily tackle. He's primarily a right tackle, so he's not taking Penny's job anytime soon or in the near 10 years. But if something happens, it's the NFL. Shit can happen. We all saw it last year, how banged up we were from like week 1 till the finish line of the playoffs. It just happens. We were just worn down attritionally. So is he someone who I can see playing tackle if Penny were to go down, like tweak his big toe or something and needs a game off? Yes. Is he someone that I can see playing some interior offensive line? Yes. I don't think many people on our depth chart can offer the positional value of playing guard and tackle. Like, if this kid could learn center, I think he'd have a damn good shot of winning it, or finding a job on this team. But that's an absolute, that's a rare thing to be able to play center, guard, and tackle. So I'm not counting on that. But man, I was just looking at some Mason Miller stuff, and I don't know. 6'7", 305 is hard to ignore. Now, he's not the most athletic guy. I looked at his RAS card from the combine. Again, not eye-popping numbers there, but listen, I'm not overly excited, but I'm overly thinking that maybe he could be a candidate for this team and someone who could help us win a football game. Because, I mean, our offensive line, I just think, is up for grabs. So I think that this is probably the best chance for an undrafted free agent. I know we paid some wide receivers to come in for some workouts, but I look at our wide receiver room and I think we're like 6, 7 deep there. So it's going to be tough. Like I said, for even some of the guys who were drafted, love it to make the team. So, I mean, I think when I look at the offensive line, there's a couple backup jobs for grabs. And I think Mason Miller, monster. Look out for him. Keep an eyes open. Again, stick around, hit that like button. We'll be back later with another show. Thanks for watching.